Equity means to me that every student gets what they need to have the highest levels of achievement and wellness possible.
It means that every child is seen, heard, and loved.
Equity is basically getting people what they need when they need it.
As a student, I think it means that everyone is truly represented.
And we have gaps in Rocklin, and so equity is paying attention to those gaps and making sure every child is supported.
First, it's recognizing that not every student comes to us with the same advantages and same resources, and then it also means that we take action based on that recognition. We've developed a long-range plan to implement specific actions to hold ourselves accountable to change those achievement and wellness outcomes.
It's a moral imperative, it's a recognition that when we look at data, and it becomes crystal clear that not all kids are being equally served in our system. So we have an obligation to make sure that we step up and think differently about it.
It's deep because it gets at core beliefs, at the very foundation. A few years ago, we took a couple different groups to the Museum of Tolerance for some social justice education, and that has manifested into some foundational training by a community school task force to talk about race, to talk about implicit bias, to talk about the effects of privilege and the impacts that it may have on our students and what we can do about it.
The equity work is the grease for all the work that we do here. If you have a foundational understanding and you have your mindset on equity, is whatever we do after that is easy because people have an understanding of why we're doing this.
I'm just incredibly proud of our students, our staff, and our community for bringing situations to our attention that allowed us now to have these conversations. The good, rich conversations that are taking place, awkward and uncomfortable at times, but through that, there's a lot of growth.
It was critical that it doesn't just rest with people at the school board or at the district office that we acknowledge the need to do this work. We have to engage our community and our stakeholders in this process.
It is vital that every member has a seat at that table. Every population, every stakeholder that's represented must be at that table to ensure that we are able to touch upon each aspect within our students' lives.
And they're trying to incorporate more and more people into this work because they recognize that it's not just one group or two groups that are being affected by this, it's everyone in the district.
The willingness to even approach a tough conversation is the catalyst to the change or the positive history that comes out of that.
One parent shared with me that it was the most important conversation she's ever had in her life.
As an educational institution, it's really important to make sure that everybody sees themselves in the campus. About 2 years ago, one of my 7th grade students wrote a persuasive letter that explained why Springview needed an LGBTQ club. And with that, the club was born. I think for the students, it's really empowering for them. They're just seen a lot more on campus.
My hope in engaging in this work and highlighting our work around equity and inclusion is that each one of our children, no matter what circumstances they're in, no matter what group they come from, have the highest levels of achievement and wellness here in Rocklin Unified. And only by taking explicit, different actions will we have an impact on what has been the historical achievement and wellness of these marginalized students.
I think there's still more room to work towards, but the fact that we're starting now and we're doing something about it now, it is an amazing step in the right direction.
The conversation is important, the work is much harder, and we are, while I say at the beginning of our journey, we're in for some really hard conversations and some disruptive, some difficult moments here in Rocklin and across the state, across the country. It's the right work, it's the critical work, and it's the morally imperative work, and I'm excited to be part of a community that wants to engage in this hard conversation.